There it is. Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zolo. We are past the championship rounds. We are now into the Pro Bowl week. What the hell is this?
I have no clue. It's the All-Star weekend that probably isn't an All-Star weekend because I don't think they're actually having one or something. I don't forget.
Some bullshit that they're playing on Madden.
I was gonna say it's the Madden weekend.
It's just, I mean, why showcase one of the worst sports games ever created to the entire world for them to just not buy it? Like, I don't understand. Madden was $60 5 months ago. It is now like $10. That's how little they have sold, and that's how much they're.
Sounds like
selling.
GameStop logic.
Yeah.
Hold on. Excuse me. GameStop stonks. Reddit users out here. Josh,
you got the demon.
Reddit users are out here absolutely destroying the stock market. I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's incredible. But before we jump into our tight ends, obviously we have Josh, Ryan, Chris, the same three guys you've seen for the past 3 weeks. Nothing else is new. This will be our last week with Chris, as this is the last accountability show.
Yep.
Can't really dive into more rankings after that.
We could. Defense.
You can always dive into rankings.
We could always
kickers.
Could always do the kickers.
I'm going to cut you off here in a second if you keep going down that fucking road.
Okay, yeah. Face of the show, Josh. Come on, get out of here. We will start talking about the championship games from this past weekend. So starting, we'll just go in chronological order like it happened on Sunday. Very clearly, the Buccaneers-Packers game was the better of the two games.
Yeah.
Just let's go general thoughts here, because we have some time. I imagine tight ends aren't going to take up a good time. All you need to
I don't know. Depends on how long I'm going to rant about Tyler Higbee.
Listen.
I have a rant too.
Okay, that's fine. We go rants galore. We still have another 75 minutes. Just if it's not Kelce, Kittle, or Waller, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There you go. And obviously,
that
Kittle,
literally might be the last paragraph of my show notes today. I'm not even joking.
it doesn't matter if it's not Travis Kelce, George Kittle, or Darren Waller. Go back to 2008, where if you didn't get Tony Gonzalez, you just waited till the 17th round to draft the tight end. It doesn't matter. It does.
All right.
Not
Great show,
matter.
guys.
Great show. Here we go. Thank you for joining in.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But no, let's start with the Bucs-Packers game. Josh, I'll start with you because you're obviously a fan of an NFC team yourself. Thoughts on the Packers and the Bucs, and just overall how the game went and whatever you're feeling.
I mean, I had the Bucs making it to the championship game, so I wasn't really that surprised they made it there. I mean, Brady played like crap. I know people want to, give him all the credit in the world. Yes, they won the game.
Yeah, 3 picks.
But 3 interceptions, he didn't do all that great. That defense really bailed him
and
out.
one of them looked like a punt. I literally was like, what the hell is he doing?
That one was bad. Yes, that one was terrible. But
yeah.
So, and that's the thing is you bring up, it's like he did, statistically.
Playoff Lenny, man.
Yeah, but statistically, right, he had a worse game than Rodgers. Mm-hmm. But the Bucs had forced 2 turnovers and scored 14 points off those turnovers. The Packers forced 3 interceptions and had 6 points off turnovers. Those 2 Brady interceptions in the fourth quarter turned into a punt and then another punt. So I just
3 and outs, I think.
Yeah, 2 3 and outs. Like 2 3 and outs. I think total on both drives combined, they had 6 plays for 1 yard.
Wow.
So for everyone, because another controversial call technically at the end. It's not controversial when you look at it because it's very clearly a hold. But for the fact that they weren't calling it like that the entire game, it's the precedent where you say, okay, they probably should have let that one slide.
Tyler Johnson sold that.
Oh, 100% he did.
Oh, my God. That looked like an NBA level,
freaking
FIFA level flop.
Just to be clear,
what that looked like.
That sell job was actually better than that catch that Troy Aikman freaked out about.
Yes.
Yeah.
But two things. Rodgers doesn't have the it factor. It's that simple. Rodgers was set up in multiple positions to score and win that game. He doesn't have the it factor. 2, Kevin King could now be the worst cornerback in the NFL. Like, that was embarrassing how bad he played. And also, quickly, Josh, yes, he did get burned by Scotty Miller on just before halftime, but also, why was the defensive call cover 1? Like, that makes no sense. That makes no sense. You put one safety back, and they need to go 40 yards to get in the end zone. That doesn't make sense to me. Go ahead, Josh.
I don't even remember what the hell I was going to say, to be quite honest.
Did you say something?
No, you were talking about bad corners. That's what it was. I mean, we've seen good corners get burned. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that Kevin King is the worst now. I mean, Carlton Davis got schooled for 200 yards by Tyreek Hill in one half.
But like, Josh, Kevin King was beat by Tyler Johnson,
who is one of the
Miller.
better route runners among this rookie class. Let's not, sell him short.
Sure.
And Scotty Miller will tell you, he'd tell you he's the fastest player in the NFL right now.
See, there you go.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, Scotty.
But the thing with Kevin King is he's tall. That's why he went in the second round of the draft.
Yeah.
He's tall for a corner. He's like 6'1", 6'2", I think.
Yeah, teams are still chasing that Richard Sherman thing. So
exactly. And that's the biggest reason right there. I mean, University of Washington, they've been churning out corners of late. Kevin King was one of those guys. You know,
I mean, it doesn't matter.
Josh Jackson, who went to him, I think it was 2 years ago, the same draft that they took Jair Alexander. I thought he was a much better corner than Kevin King, but he really doesn't look like he's living up to that.
I mean, all corners are trash anyway. So
all corners
except Jair Alexander, who is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
Alexander.
We're gonna have to definitely give him his due with that little running joke because
he is fantastic.
Alexander played very well. I don't want to hear it anymore. It's Brady over Rodgers, and I'm sorry.
Oh yeah,
just shut up. All of you.
You can argue arm talent with Rodgers.
I will not argue arm talent in the slightest. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers could throw the ball 70 yards with the flick of his wrist and have it be 9 times out of 10 fairly perfect as long as he has a clean pocket.
Well, especially this point in their career, you could argue that with most, but
absolutely, yeah.
Look, I've been a Brady hater my entire life. There's no argument, and I'm
not even close.
I'm the oldest on the show. I watched Montana, and it was great. Don't get me wrong, but what Brady does in this NFL is just unheard of. Like, it's just not close. So
all right. Thank you, Ryan, from a Brady hater. Go ahead, Chris.
I have a very important question for y'all. What did you think about the LaFleur call at the end of the game to kick the field goal?
Stupid.
On 4th and 9?
Stupid. Yeah, you go for it. I'm sorry. Okay. Ryan just brought up Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. You want to put the ball back in his hands? Like, that's just stupid.
Well, I mean, he's getting the ball anyways. Even if they score and tie it up, he still gets the ball.
True, but at least if you tie it up, your defense can try and they actually have to try and score at that point
instead of just killing the clock. Instead of just killing the intelligent
clock.
Quarterback in the NFL. So.
Exactly. So it's
and you've had one of the worst run defenses in the entire league all year. Leonard Fournette's been running all over you all game. Why? What would make you think that you can stop him?
Now, someone did bring up, didn't they technically stop them and get shafted on a penalty? Not shafted, but the penalty all took place around that time. So, I mean, they technically did what they were supposed to do.
Well, the penalty was on 3rd down.
Yeah.
And it was a legit penalty. But again.
I agreed. I'm just saying they technically did. They got him into a 3rd and long, stopped them on the 3rd and long. Unfortunately, they stopped them by cheating. So it just doesn't work out that well.
But this is what you're seeing with a lot of these newer coaches that are supposedly these offensive wizards. They don't have any balls. They're going to play conservative. They're going to take the gimme shots instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to go win this game.
Well, that's a huge issue in the NFL.
Tie this game, you mean?
Or tie it.
Yeah, I mean, regardless.
Either way,
but that's a huge issue in the NFL, and it's almost the Cleveland Browns effect, and it seems they hopefully have broken this streak. But the coaches don't get time to screw up anymore. They literally don't get the opportunity like they used to, because you can literally be fired after 1 year, and it's not fair to the coaches. It's not fair to the players.
And Chris,
I don't think it's a.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I don't think it's a terrible call. I'll defend it. Like, so would you rather have your defense 31-23 having to stop them, or 31-26 with a chance to actually win the game if they do stop them?
31-23
It wasn't
with
fourth
the
and
Buccaneers.
short. It was basically 4th and 10.
31-23 with the Buccaneers backed up on their own 8. Like, here's the thing, right? No matter what, if you don't convert on 4th down, you still have to score a touchdown. If you kick the field goal, you still have to score a touchdown. So either way, but again, you need your defense to stop them. You then have to drive down the field with no timeouts. It's like either way, you're going to have less time on the clock and no timeouts.
I just think also just having a guy like Davante Adams just makes that a little bit of an easier call for me. So
yeah, I mean, when you have the offensive skill players that they have, to me, that's a no-brainer. Like, you go for it. I understand Aaron Jones didn't have the best game, but Tampa Bay's run defense has been elite for 2+ years now. And let's not forget, they got Vita Vea back for this game.
Yeah.
It's not surprising to me that he struggled, and Green Bay as a whole struggled running the football.
I will say Rodgers got tunnel vision on the goal line with Davante Adams. And everyone bitching at Lazard because he didn't turn his head. Check the tape. The ball was behind his head. He wasn't going to catch it anyways. So Rodgers made 2 bad throws on that last drive that they had the football. So he got tunnel vision. And granted, Davante Adams dropped a ball that he never drops. That back shoulder, he never drops that pass. But, I would love to know Rodgers' numbers targeting Davante Adams inside the 10 because he had way more incompletions than he had.
The one thing I do want to throw out, though, is Rodgers came out and said, I thought we were going for it on 4th down and he would have done things differently.
Sure.
And I feel like that is something that LaFleur has to answer to because they had this kind of like rocky relationship last year where nobody knew who trusted who and this, that, and the other. But it seemed that they had gotten over that this year. But that's a major, everybody should have known what was going on at that point in the game.
I have your numbers, Joe.
What numbers? I'm sorry. What did I ask for?
You wanted.
Oh yeah, what's the numbers? I'm actually intrigued.
In 14 games in the regular season.
I just want
he wants this week
playoff game.
Oh, this playoff game.
Why the hell would I care about inside the 10 throughout the season? Davante Adams smoked every guy that played against him. I just care about the playoff.
The point that I'm getting at is you can see the differences. This regular season, 19 targets, 17 receptions, 13 touchdowns.
Gross.
This week, 1 of 6. Well, I would say just this week alone, 1 of 6, 1 touchdown. 2 yards.
And the 2 playoff games, 7 targets, 2 receptions, 2 touchdowns. So
that means he was only targeted 1 time time before that. So
that's a huge difference. He was unstoppable inside the 10 throughout the regular season, and he was very stoppable this year in the last 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, Rodgers is going to tunnel vision on him, so you do whatever you can to stop Davante. You don't let their best player beat you. It's that simple. To the next game, talk about young coaches not having balls. McDermott, 2 26-yard field goals on 4th and 2 and 4th and 3. That does nothing against Kansas City. And you thought McDermott's going to come in. He went for it on 4th down on their first drive. You're like, oh shit, McDermott came to play. The Bills are here. They're gonna push Kansas City's luck, and they're gonna push their own luck, and they kick 2 damn field goals inside the 10. I don't get that. I don't understand that. And Josh, you talked about a lot of these guys are offensive guys that come in. McDermott's a defensive guy, so I normally defensive guys are let's go, let's challenge the defense, but. I don't understand that. You come into Kansas City.
To me, it was just a matter of a coach for the first time in this environment not really knowing how to react. And that to me, that's really the whole thing. Andy Reid's been there, done this. He's the first coach in NFL history that's taken 2 different teams to 3 straight conference championship games on their home field. That's your great Bill Belichick's never done that. I understand he's been with the Patriots the last 20 some odd years, but he's coached other places too. So again,
coached the Browns.
That's okay. He coached another team.
Go Browns.
Anyway, like right now, Andy Reid's the class of the AFC, and so are the Chiefs. It really is. It's that simple. And the Bills' defense to me they're good, but they're not as great as I think a lot of people want them to be.
Tre'Davious White got pantsed that whole game.
I mean, what do you expect? The guy's 5'10" lined up on Travis Kelce. Kelce's going to win that all day, every day.
Josh, it wasn't even the fact that Kelce bodied him. It was the fact that Tre'Davious White was 5 yards behind him on every route.
No, he was.
And it wasn't even Kelce, using his body. Tre'Davious White got pantsed. He sucked in that game. Absolutely sucked. And the thing we have talked about on this show multiple times, how do you beat Kansas City on defense? You don't rush more than 4 players, and you play high-low on Tyreek Hill. The Bills did none of those things.
Well, yeah, and then we've talked about this, and I found it funny that it even got brought up on the broadcast, is you can't let both of them beat you. That's not an option. Travis Kelce had nobody near him the entire game. It was his world. It was ridiculous. At one point, he was on pace for 20 receptions in the game.
He had seven. He had 7 in the first half.
Yeah, and I tweeted this out during the game. Like, they moved their best player into the slot. Taron Johnson is fucking terrible in the slot. He is god-awful. Tyreek Hill made him his bitch.
Yeah.
Like, straight up destroyed him all game. Like, I understand you were going to lose with Kelce, but at least try to win against Hill. Put your best corner, which is Tre'Davious White. Put him on Hill. Like, I just, at the very least, he doesn't have 160 yards or whatever he ended up with.
It didn't end up mattering, but I love the McCole Hardman redemption play too on the goal line. That was pretty awesome. So.
McCole Hardman's terrible. His skill is run straight.
Yep.
That's his skill.
I mean, with Patrick Mahomes, I don't know that you need too much more than that.
That's true. It is true. But his skill is run straight. It's the only reason he's back there on kick return.
Wasn't he the first wide receiver taken in that draft too?
No.
No.
I don't think he was the first. No.
Okay.
What year was he drafted?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. He was drafted when the whole Tyreek Hill child.
The Hollywood year. Hollywood and Nikhil.
Oh, yeah. No, then he wasn't even close. Never mind. Because, he was second round. So.
But, hey, congrats to Kansas City. I think every drive they scored. I don't think there was a drive that they didn't score. Not the first one?
The first one, Tyreek Hill dropped that pass.
Yes, you're right. They went 3 and out on that one.
Yeah, that's about it.
I think every other drive after that they scored. It's just, Ryan, you brought it up. You can't let both of them beat you. You pick who you want to beat you. And for me, every time it's Travis Kelce. Because Travis Kelce doesn't run a 4.2 40 and can rip the top off your defense. I'm interested to see what Tampa does. Obviously, Tyreek Hill destroyed them just 7 or 8 weeks ago. But since that game, both teams are undefeated, and Tampa is averaging 34 points per game.
And they should have Antonio back this week, too.
I believe so.
Next week, when they play.
And,
so they'll have their full complement of weapons.
And I don't know if you guys looked at the lines yet for this game. So it's Kansas City -3 as of right now. The over-under for this game is 56.
Yeah, I thought I saw 56.5 today.
That's absurd. That's essentially saying you both. Yeah. And again, in theory, are both teams going to score a touchdown in every quarter? In theory, you're probably thinking yes. If each team scores a touchdown in every quarter, you push. You don't even win money. You just push.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. But we'll get more into the betting next
week.
I just wanted to bring that up. Let's get into the tight ends here. We're just going to preface this. If it's not Kelce, Kittle, or Waller, it doesn't really matter. But there is something, little neat stat. So 16 tight ends scored more than 140.
I was floored by that, by the way, when I pulled that. I was like, wait, what?
Compared to in previous years, going back from 2019 backwards, 10 in 2019, 9 in 18, then 10, and then 14 in 2016. The position was up. It's just very inconsistent.
Exactly.
You'll have guys. I mean, Darren Waller drops a 60 burger, but he'll come back next week and drop 15, which is still a good week for a tight end. But you'll have guys that Jimmy Graham, 2 touchdowns for 50 yards on 6 catches. In the next week, he's not even targeted.
1 for 6.
Yeah. The next week he's not even targeted. So it's like it's tough. But some guys that Josh, Chris, and Ryan hit the nail on the head with for pre and end of season. Josh had Kelce, Darren Waller. He had Mike Gesicki. Wasn't that far off on Evan Ingram, Dallas Goedert, Austin Hooper, Tyler effing Higbee, which we'll get to in a second. And he said, for what it's worth, he was only 3 points off on Cole Kmet's rookie year. Ryan, you also have Travis Kelce. Shocking.
We all did.
You got Noah Fant. You were 1 rake off on Hayden Hurst and Hunter Henry. You missed on Gesicki by just 20 yards. You also called the Austin Hooper dip. Chris, shocking. Travis Kelce was a big hit.
Yeah.
Mike Gesicki, Jonnu Smith, Blake Jarwin, and Dalton Schultz. That combo essentially of the Dallas Titans.
I put them together.
Yeah,
Schultz
Dallas
essentially
Titans.
did what we expected Jarwin to do.
Yeah.
Almost exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that in your notes. That was really cool.
Yeah. And you had Austin Hooper and Darren Waller as well. So Josh, be sure to tag Hitman.
Right?
Tell us why Tyler Higbee is not good unless he plays the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns, and I think it was week 2 when we played the Rams, and he had 2 touchdowns the rest of the year. Correct. I was going back through, and I was actually looking at the splits when I was doing my projections between Higbee and Everett. My splits were a little wider, but when you look at the 2 and the tight end position in that Rams offense as a whole, I was actually pretty close on getting the total correct. They combined for 122 targets. I predicted 115. Everybody was like, oh, they're going to run more 12 personnel. They're going to run more 12 personnel. That's going to result in more, tight end work, et cetera, et cetera.
Nope.
It didn't result in more tight end work, but they did actually run more 12 personnel. I went back and I looked at the numbers from last year. They ran 12 personnel 21% of the time in 2019 for 219 plays versus 11 personnel 73% of the time at 768 plays. By the way, these stats are all sharpfootballstats.com. If you haven't looked at that site, go look at it. Warren Sharp is fantastic. But this year they ran 12 personnel 29% of the time. So an increase and up to 349 plays. But then they were in 11 personnel 65% of the time at 782 plays. These are basically the only 2 formations that the Rams run. It's either 11 or it's 12. That's it. They don't really run anything else. And I know you can attest to this, Chris, as a Rams fan. But looking at these stats, I was like, holy crap. But then when you look at the amount of times they ran the football, last year they only ran it 401 times. That number spiked to 473 this year.
Yep.
They took a running back in the second round. They want to run the football. Like, I don't understand why people were just like not buying into that concept at all. And it just baffled me. I understand it took Cam Akers some time to get going, but it does for a lot of rookies. And especially this year when they didn't have a preseason. And they were using Cam Akers big time down the stretch.
And that's somewhere where I wanted to give Chris credit. And Chris, I'll let you talk since it's your team. But early on in our rankings, Josh, Chris called me out for not having Akers high enough. And I said, I think they're going to pass more. And Chris, you were like, no, they're going to run the football. So you knew right off the rip that this was going to be a running team. So they ran that 12 personnel just to run the football. And that's why you saw 3 running backs over 100 carries, just everything you had described, Josh. So Chris hit that right on the head to where everybody misread the situation because of the last 8 weeks of 2019, where running that 12 personnel turned Tyler Higbee into a wide receiver 3. They didn't care about having a wide receiver 3 this year. They needed blockers, which is why Johnny Munt played a lot because he's their blocking tight end. But then Higbee and Everett technically like share that second tight end spot.
Yeah, and,
so even
and
when
Everett,
it's 12 personnel,
Everett actually had 2 more targets than Higbee did.
Yeah,
Everett was at 62, and Higbee, I believe, was at 60.
Yep. So like I said, yeah, Chris, that was a great call on your part to where I legitimately thought it would be more of a passing team. And you corrected me right there. And obviously you could have been right about the Akers. It just took him longer to get going, like Josh brought up. And plus their usage of everybody early in the season was so weird. Malcolm Brown had that amazing week 1, and then they just stopped using him for 3 weeks. And it was interesting to say the very least, but that was a great call on Chris's part as well.
But yeah, I had Higbee projected at tight end 18, and he finished at tight end 17. But I know Chris was high on Higbee, so I'm actually I
was too.
I want to catch the inverse of that, like, obviously seeing what happened, Chris, versus what did happen.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably my biggest miss at the tight end position was Tyler Higbee. I think I had him at 8 or 7. So not even that high at the tight end position, just a weekly streamer. But the Rams, the way they used everyone was just surprising to me. Like in the passing game, we ran the ball a lot, but like Higbee would disappear for stretches. He would hyper target Woods. He would hyper target Cup. There was a couple of Josh Reynolds games in there. It was just hard to predict who was going to be the guy for the Rams. I mean, other than the customary 6 for 70 for Woods.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. I was looking.
I was doing the same thing.
Looking up who Jamie Vardy is. I
looked it up.
I was like, is that a Ram? He plays for Leicester City.
Yeah.
In the EPL.
So beyond Arsenal, we appreciate you listening in, but we have no idea anything about.
He says
the wrong
Manchester
kind of football
United
for us. Bro.
said Man U not keeping a clean sheet hurt his fantasy Premier League team. One, didn't know they did a fantasy Premier League team.
Do they have a fantasy everything?
Of course they do.
Man.
Yeah.
Guys,
well, we do fantasy poker.
Guys,
we wish your team luck.
Guys, stop yelling at me.
Why? You yell at us all the time.
Because I'm the host, I can do that. If it's beneficial to me, I can do it. Manchester United, that now they were they got the EPL ban, right? Because they were 2 years and
stop.
They cooked the books, I think. I'm pretty sure it was Man U. They cooked the books. Beyond Arsenal, I'm pretty sure this is what you're talking about, not keeping a clean sheet. Like they spent money on players where they shouldn't have, and they was like falsifying books. Correct me if I'm wrong, Beyond Arsenal.
I think he might just mean that when you shut out the other team, it's a clean sheet.
No, it is not that, because I know there was a soccer
conceding a goal.
There you go.
See?
Boom.
We're getting educated on.
I
love it.
Club Fantasy 2022 is going to branch out into English Premier League.
I say Beyond Arsenal, come back every week on Wednesday or whatever day it is in England.
It is still Wednesday, depending on.
Jets fan.
He's a Jets fan. Nice.
Oh, poor buddy.
I mean, if he is in England, I believe it's the next day in England. It's currently January 28th because they are.
I think it's 7 hours different.
No, they're 5 hours ahead of you guys in Easter and 6 hours ahead of me in Central.
Okay.
8 hours ahead of Chris. So
7.
yes, it is a 7. Oh, you're Mountain Time. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just on midnight. There you go.
Yeah, so it's 12:28 a.m. over there.
There we
go. From our old buddies across the pond.
But we appreciate you tuning in, even though you probably couldn't care less what we're talking about.
Yeah, no,
He just said he's a Jets fan. Come on now.
Rough season for Chris Herndon.
Yeah, tough season. Tough season for the Jets, actually, just as a team.
Hey, it's the best season for the Jets because Adam Gase is gone. Whatever needed to happen happened.
They did the right thing. And before we get to Beyond Arsenal's question about the Jets, Maggie's joining in. Was wondering why Josh isn't matching with everybody.
I apparently didn't get the memo.
I literally.
Apparently, it has to do with the fact that I have an Android. That's just what I'm going to assume.
I also have an Android.
Wait, you have an Android?
Yeah. Which you should know with all those green messages that pop up on your phone.
Yeah, it's super annoying.
I want to flip a table every time I see a text from Josh because I know I
just join Bill's Mafia and jump through it.
I know I have to look at a green bubble. Oh God, I want to flip a table. But beyond Arsenal being the Jets fan, he asked, "Do you think the Jets can sign?" At this point, it would be to trade.
Correct.
Can they trade for Deshaun Watson?
If they're willing to give up that too, I think Houston has to look at that. So.
They have the draft capital. It's not like they don't have the draft capital. They can probably throw in. I mean, you get rid of Sam Darnold. You throw in the 2, maybe maybe a first, a second, and Darnold for Deshaun
Well, I was gonna say,
Watson.
and Darnold's intriguing because I keep seeing these trades where it's like whatever San Fran's pick is and Jimmy Garoppolo. Houston doesn't want Jimmy Garoppolo if they make this trade. Now, Darnold, it depends on whether you see him as broken goods or not, but Darnold could be the pick there to where that might be intriguing enough with Houston.
Ooh, he brought up, because I forgot, because
the Jets have 2 firsts this year.
The Jets have 2 firsts. They could trade those 2 firsts straight up and get.
Yeah,
Watson.
I mean, if you throw the 2 firsts this year, you throw in Darnold, maybe even the first next year, because let's face it, Deshaun Watson's going to fetch 3, maybe even 4 firsts.
Sure.
I agree.
But if you're Houston, you lowball them. I'm sorry, if you're the Jets, you lowball Houston because they have a player that won't play for them. You lowball them.
See, I think you need to make this trade now because I think if Houston gets Eric Bieniemy, I know people are saying Deshaun Watson can't be talked off this ledge. I completely disagree with that. And if Eric Bieniemy is the coach, I think he can be talked off this ledge, which is why you need to make that trade this friggin' week.
Yeah. And I want to back you because Gemmo said Watson. He is worth 3 firsts. I'm not arguing that. You lowball a team that has a player that doesn't want to play for
I mean, a safety fetched 2 firsts.
Yeah.
Like Jamal Adams got 2 firsts. What'd you guys give up for Ramsey? Wasn't it 2 first plus?
Yeah, 2 firsts.
Yeah, like
but Josh,
a franchise quarterback is easily worth double that.
Josh,
and then do they even want
hates first round picks?
Well, I was gonna say, do they even want Darnold?
I
would say because they don't want Darnold because if you're taking that 2nd overall, you're taking Fields at that point, so you don't want Darnold.
Well, that's the thing is like, so you kind of throw in Darnold in the deal to where you assume that Houston is gonna draft Justin Fields with that pick.
Yeah,
if they get 2, but you throw in Darnold because at least he's probably a solid backup because he's shown flashes of that he can actually play football.
Yeah.
But he's also shown most of the time he's been coached by Adam Gase. So
3-team trade. That's what I say. Send Darnold somewhere. Houston gets, a couple seconds for that, and then they get the firsts from the Jets, and
maybe that's how the Jets pulls it off, where the Jets only have to give up those 2 ones, but then sending Darnold elsewhere gets enough picks thrown in there to make it worth everyone's while.
Yeah, and Arsenal brings up they have 2 firsts this year and 2 firsts next year, as far as I'm concerned. So let's just say you're trading 3 first-round picks, 2 this year, 1 next year for Deshaun Watson, and you still have a so Deshaun Watson's your first-round pick this year, and you still have a first-round pick next year.
Yeah, and I mean, Deshaun Watson's a hell of a first-round pick this year.
Anybody would do that.
You've been building your offensive line. You grabbed an O-lineman last year. You obviously have no running back, but Deshaun Watson can hide that deficiency a little bit. I know you don't love Mims, but they have Mims. They have Crowder, which is the type of slot wide receiver Deshaun Watson's going to love to have there. And Perriman, a burner a la Brandon Cooks. He's going to feel pretty comfortable.
Well, keep in mind, Perriman was only on a 1-year deal, so he's technically a free.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. But then Watson has expressed his wanting to go to San Francisco. You have San Francisco's coaching staff in New York, so that could be another draw for let's do this. So.
I mean, I don't think Deshaun Watson is a Kyle Shanahan quarterback. That doesn't he doesn't feel like he fits the bill.
I think a lot of people don't realize the fact that Deshaun Watson led the NFL in passing yards this year.
I saw one of the. I think did Michelle.
Shanahan's going to throw the football.
Shanahan is going to throw, but I feel like Deshaun Watson's talents could be used in a better system.
Oh, well, sure. Sense. But that doesn't mean he can't be effective in that system.
Oh no, I'm not saying he wouldn't be effective.
Because he throws the ball downfield. That's what Shanahan does. When you go back to what he did in Atlanta,
yep,
it's run and gun.
Exactly, they're going to throw the football. When you got guys like Debo that can create, but they can also get downfield. Brandon Ayuk is a great downfield runner. He's also great in open space. but they use a lot of these like pick and pops because Jimmy Garoppolo can't throw the football downfield.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah, so I'm not saying Watson wouldn't be good. He'll be good anywhere he goes. I don't think that's a question.
Yeah, he seems system proof at this point. If Bill O'Brien didn't ruin him, and then the post Bill O'Brien having no real coaching didn't ruin him, and he led the NFL in passing yards, I don't think he can be ruined anywhere.
It's like if you put him in a system where he needs to run more, he can run more.
Well, and keep in mind too, he loves Will Fuller. The Jets have a ton of cap space. If they can pull off the trade to get Watson, who's to say they don't pull the money out to go sign Fuller?
Not to mention a guy like Kenny Golladay is going to be out there they can bring in a big receiver to go with him. So
I know this is a tight end show, but again, we've stated if it's not Kelce, Kittle, or Waller, it doesn't really matter. I'm pulling up the free agent list here for wide receivers. The Jets have the second most cap space, I believe, behind the Jacksonville Jaguars, which I think is somewhere in the neighborhood of $75 million. So you're looking at free agent receivers.
I say the Jags got to throw all that money on defense, or they're just screwed.
Yes,
yeah. Get a receiver for Trevor.
I mean,
Lawrence
they could essentially do what Miami did last year. Miami focused so
100%.
much of their free agency on defense.
Yeah.
And then just loaded up. Yeah, exactly. And loaded up on offense in the draft. They drafted linemen. I mean, why not?
So here's some free agent receivers. Allen Robinson is out there. That's a big name that they could grab. Will Fuller, his AAV, his average annual value in 2020 was only 2.5. That's obviously going up.
Yep.
But you have Will Fuller out there. It's probably going Allen Robinson 1, Will Fuller 2. Marvin Jones is your third guy. So
he'll be 31. He won't. I don't know that he'll even be a week 1 signing. He's probably a week 2 signing when free agency hits.
Yeah, I mean, you have Sammy Watkins, who's only 28.
Yes, but we know what Sammy Watkins is. That's the difference.
We know what Sammy Watkins is. Corey Davis, if you want to take a flyer on him at 26. John Ross is going to be a free agent if you want a real flyer on John Ross.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's not. Curtis Samuel's a free agent. Like, there's plenty of guys out there. I think that
AJ Green.
Green. Yeah, but AJ Green is 33 and walking on.
Toast.
Yeah, walking on 2 broken legs at this point.
I'm still utterly shocked he had 100 targets this year.
I was going to say, the respect he pulls in the NFL, though, that's the kind of thing to where, I mean, the trade would have to be done by then. But if the Jets were to bring in AJ Green, that's something where Deshaun Watson be like, that works.
Yeah, that just feels like kind of like when Andre Johnson left for the Titans.
100%.
When Reggie Wayne left for the Patriots. It's like you're getting these guys that are like, yes, they're big names and they're going to command some respect, but they're done. Why are you going to waste your money?
I think Green can still catch. The issue is he can't get open.
No.
Yep.
So you're relying on, planned plays for AJ Green instead of, jump balls. AJ Green could still catch a 50-50 contested ball, I think, more often than not. I truly think that. But you're right. It's just a name at this point. Another guy out there, Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm not the biggest fan of him, but you have a guy like Randall Cobb who succeeded in Houston with Watson.
I was just going to say, Juju is a guy who fits Watson's game if they can get on the same page. So.
Yes. So I think that could be Josh Gordon still out there for teams to maybe take a flyer on.
He'll get reinstated eventually.
Well, he was reinstated and then blew it.
And then blew it again. He had already. Josh Gordon will never play another.
He'll get reinstated again.
So, you assume Chris Godwin gets re-signed with the Buccaneers, but if not, Chris Godwin. Tim Patrick is a free agent as well. I know,
and he's gone. He's going to go somewhere. He's going to parlay this year into a contract. Somewhere.
Tim Patrick's not the sexiest name, but we've seen he's fast, can beat coverage, and has good hands. So I think he's going to go somewhere and be a 2 and probably be a solid 2. There's names out there. You're going to have to pay for some of these guys, but like we said, the Jets have the space to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So if they go with Watson as their first-round pick, quote-unquote, maybe in the second round they go and get a cornerback, that maybe a good man-to-man cornerback, and just kind of build from there. Yeah. But we'll see. It's gonna be interesting if they can get Deshaun Watson. It's a very real possibility. All right. I mean,
That was fun, though. Thank you, Beyond Arsenal. I know you've tuned out already, but
I trust
Scotland in the house.
Yeah, I was gonna scrap at things to try and figure out, because again, tight ends, what's it matter?
Well, there is one fight that I get into that I got into.
You have a rant. Go, Mr. Ryan.
I mean, and this goes back to, I was dealing with this all preseason and I debated it, and people kept wanting to say it, and I'm just done with it. There is not a 1A, 1B at the top of tight end fantasy. Kittle is good. Kelce is great. And just a couple of stats I wanted to throw out for that. So he's been the tight end one for 5 straight seasons, which is obscene. Tight end, a top 10 tight end every year he's been a starter. He's only never missed more than 1 game in a season, but this is where I just want to stop hearing this 1A, 1B nonsense. Over the last 5 seasons, Kelce is averaging 16.8 PPR points a game. Kittle's best single season is 16.2, and he's missed 10 games in the last 2 seasons. Kittle has 14 touchdowns scored in his career. Kelce has 16 in the last 2 seasons. It's over. I'm not debating Kittle's goodness, but there's no longer a debate to Kelce's greatness. Until he falls off that old age cliff, it is Travis Kelce and it is everyone else. There is no 1A and 1B.
Chris, I know you're a staunch agreeer with that sentiment. Yes. You basically said that Kelce is the absolute untouchable on your dynasty team. So
I changed his nickname to just no trade clause. So yeah, I love it. I agree with that.
And it's I want to bring this up. It's Kelce in fantasy football. It's George Kittle in real life.
And I'll give you that. And like I said, and as soon as they start giving me points for blocks, I'm going to be all over George Kittle for those 6 games where he's healthy. But until that happens, just stop.
Yeah, I by principle just don't like Travis Kelce. I never draft the tight end in the 2nd round anyway. But I understand why you would do that.
Shit, you're gonna have some drafts in the fall or in the summer where Kelce's a 1st round pick.
If Kelce goes in the 1st round,
I would take him in the 1st.
I'm going to tell you something. Our good friends over at the Fantasy Whisperers brought back Mock Draft Monday this week. I tuned in. Great show as always. They kill it over there. 2nd pick of the draft to make sure they got him, Travis Kelce, because they knew he wasn't going to be there at the turn. So
I mean, I look, I understand that logic where it's like, look, I want this guy and there's no way he's going to come back to me. I get that.
I'm not saying it's a great strategy, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's. I can see late 1st.
But what I'm saying is you can't convince me.
I would take him late 1st.
Yep. You can't convince me that you're not going to see some non-fantasy analyst drafts where you're not going to see Kelce going top 5 because people are going to be like, look what he's done, especially after this Super Bowl he's about to put up, because I think he's going to feast. He's going to be a name that's going to be top of mind. And I think you're going to start seeing him go crazy early in drafts this year.
We saw this a lot with like the big Gronk years where everybody was like, oh, I got to get Gronk in the 1st. I think the biggest difference to me when you're looking at these types of situations with Gronk was always in and out with health issues, right? We knew how dominant he was. Kelce has been the model of consistency in terms of fantasy. He's always in the lineup. The flip side to that is every time we talk up a tight end going super early, like I'm fine going tight end early, but I'm still not doing it before the 3rd round.
Yep. Well, I think one thing that's going to play into it big this year is how snake-bitten everybody was at running back in the 1st round this year. Because 1st round running backs in general,
they weren't
bombed.
Yeah, they did, and a lot of it was injuries, and it was a whole lot of issues. But like, there's ultimately going to be that drop off. Like Kelce ended up scoring 278 fantasy points or something like that for the tight end position this year. Like, we don't see numbers like that often. Like, yes, you're going to have tight ends that score over 200, and more often than not, it is Travis Kelce.
It's actually 312. You had that before week 17, I'm guessing. But yeah, 312 in PPR. Okay. 278 was Waller.
All right. I think that might actually be the first 300-point tight end season that I can remember in a very long time.
Can we add into this? There was no defense this year.
Well, and again, that's the point that I'm trying to get at. When we have these like anomaly seasons, you're paying up for what you think that's going to be. there's going to be a drop-off, a big drop-off. I'm not saying that Kelce's not going to finish next year as a tight end one. I'm not saying that you're not going to curtail that position in your draft, but he's not going to score 300 fantasy points next year. That's my biggest issue with taking a tight end in the first round.
He'll score 250.
I mean,
but
it's not even that. I mean, you look at what the tight ends after Waller. I mean, that's a 10-point difference. You're basically paying for 2 tight ends at the that you can put into your lineup as opposed to 1 tight end. I mean, if you grab Mark Andrews in the 3rd round, you said you would take an early tight end, but not before the 3rd round. Maybe Mark Andrews. I mean, he outscored Mark Andrews by 9 points per game. That's like an extra flex spot. I think that's why they would pay up. Not because they think he's going to score 300. Like Christian McCaffrey wasn't going to score 480 points again last year. But he's such an advantage at the position that it's just – that's why I would definitely take him, back half of the first round.
Okay, and again, I understand that logic, but like to me, this is an anomaly year. Like you look at those points per game, like the tight end 3, Logan Thomas, only scored 11 points per game. So yeah, that's a big dip. But when you look at, let's go back to 2019, you had Kelce and Kittle both over 15. You had Ertz over 14. You had Hooper over 14. Then you had Waller at 13.8. You had Andrews at 13.8. And that to me is that's
where the ceiling will lower. So
exactly, the ceiling is ultimately going to be lowered, and you're going to have, that oil is going to rise to the top eventually of the water.
But even in those same seasons, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Kelce's consistency, what he does on a week in, week out basis.
Again, agree with you 1,000% on the consistency side of things.
Just to throw it out there, Jimmy Graham in 2013 cracked 3 bills, and Rob Gronkowski in 2011. So that's all the way back to 2002. Since we've seen it. Exactly. Yep.
2011, I think, was the height of the 2 tight end set for them.
Yeah.
I think that was the year before Hernandez.
But I just
contract.
Anybody, and we have a specific guest that I know is going to fight me on this, the Fantasy Stoner. Anybody who throws the 1A, 1B out is not going to get safe haven from me this year. I'm going to fight them.
Only in real life, George Kittle.
Oh, and like I said, I completely concede that, but I just don't play real life football.
No, this is fantasy world.
Yeah.
But for those Chiefs fans that say Travis Kelce is better than George Kittle, I don't know about that. But yeah, it's Kelce, Kittle, and Waller, with Kelce much further ahead of the other 2. There's a huge drop off. Like there's just a big drop off, and it's to the point where, yes, we did say, what was it? 16 tight ends scored more than 140 fantasy points, the most in any season in the last 5 seasons. So you can find that talent late, but again, some of those games are like a Jimmy Graham puts up 30 points one game and then 2
does nothing,
and that's the thing where it's like. Just my philosophy is I would rather stack up on running back, because as we saw, running backs
you need depth.
You need running backs. You need them. That's why I almost exclusively take a running back in the 1st and 2nd round, sometimes even the 3rd, depending on how I like the receivers looking there. I'll take a tight end I think I took most of my tight ends in the 12th or 13th round this year. Keep in mind, I made the playoffs in every single league. So it's one of those positions where, yes, you could have Travis Kelce. Chris, I'm just saying, you had Travis Kelce.
Let's preface this. He's talking about his redraft leagues.
Yes.
I guess the main
redraft leagues that I've been playing since I was 8. That's why I'm good at them.
It's interesting to me because coming into this season, I have been, and Josh and I have talked about this, I typically am stream your tight end guy, but if I can get Kelce, I get Kelce. And I play in a couple of leagues where we do contests and stuff like that, where you can actually like pick your draft position. And I would tend to pick towards middle of the 1st round with the entire plan of taking Kelce in the middle of the 2nd round, because all of my picks would be spaced out, 7 or 8 picks apart. I don't know that I'm going to be able to get him in the middle. And so then the question is, do I go early if I get my choice? And I actually have a league where I'm likely going to get my choice of any pick I want. And McCaffrey is just a stone cold killer in this league because it's a league that actually gets points based on touches, which is ridiculous. But I have to have McCaffrey, which means I'm probably not going to be able to get Kelce towards the end of the second round. I just don't see it being a thing anymore. So the real question is, when do you start considering guys like Darren Waller and then a healthy George Kittle? Are they in play at that point? Because Kittle was in play in the second round last year. Is he still in play in the second round? I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on that.
I think when you're looking at it, and again, I haven't really dived too far into like the way too early rankings that we're planning on doing in the coming weeks. I think right now I would probably have Kelce and Waller 1 and 2. And the big thing for me with Waller above Kittle is availability. It's not about the talent, because from a fantasy perspective, I would still take Kittle over Waller. But Waller plays 16 games.
Yep.
We haven't seen that yet from Kittle. So why do I want to blow that early round pick on a guy that really hasn't proven to be healthy? And again, it's not because I don't like Kittle. I love Kittle. I think he's absolutely fantastic. When you get the ball in his hands, he is good. And then you look at a healthy Deebo Samuel, a healthy Brandon Ayuk, that's only going to make him better. For me, I would look at him more as like a 4th, 5th round guy. But I think Kelce is easy, like a 1st, 2nd round guy for me, and Waller maybe a 2nd, 3rd, just because of the cheat code at the position that they offer.
And see, and that's kind of what I was considering is, like, I don't want to make this about my team, but would be going for a lot of people who have the 101, going McCaffrey at 101, and then RB Waller at 210, 212, and 301. Yeah. So
I think that's very conceivable. Again, I haven't done many mocks, but hypothetically speaking, I think it's conceivable.
I think I would take Waller and Kittle both in the 3rd round. I don't know if I would, but like I think that's where I would consider them.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Just what everyone's temperature was.
Yeah, even if it's at that turn where it's at the 3-1, I mean, you're not gonna get him if you wait till the 4-12. So
that's a great point.
Sorry, I was just looking at a tweet from Adam Schefter that just came out about the Super Bowl uniforms. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Oh, please tell me we're getting the Tampa Bay creamsicles.
We're not getting the Tampa Bay creamsicles.
Damn it!
We'll get to that in a bit, but I want to answer Sean's question before we actually jump into that. But Sean, welcome.
And it just happens to be tight ends.
Yeah.
Right? Perfect. Thank you, buddy. Thank you for keeping it on brand.
So the trade on the table. Noah Fant for Brandon Ayuk straight up. It is a tight end premium where it's 1.75 points per catch. His tight ends rostered are Blake Jarwin, Darren Fells, Will Dissly, and Albert O. So he has Noah Fant's backup currently in Albert O. Do you trade for Noah Fant and lose Brandon Ayuk, Josh?
In tight end premium, I think I do this. Like I love Brandon Ayuk, and I love the potential there. But we saw how bad Drew Lock was this year, and Noah Fant still had over 90 targets. He is a centerpiece of that offense. They're going to keep feeding him the football.
My only concern is Courtland Sutton returning.
See, to me, that only makes him better.
But I'm not going to say it's not going to make him a better player. I completely agree with that. I just don't know about the target volume. This is actually tougher for me, but I can already tell you why, and I think Chris might agree with me here, is you already have Jarwin, baby. Do you need another tight end?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. You get the 1.75 for Jarwin.
We saw Schultz ball out. Why? Like, I
so that concerned me when I was looking at my way too early.
What happens if they turn the keys alternate them now, and then they end up hurting each other versus them just saying, all right, I'm just going to go full bore into Jarwin now.
Well, don't forget, for the 2 weeks before he got hurt, they were kind of doing the same thing with Albert O, but that's because Fant was dealing with his own injuries there too. Yeah. So I feel like you probably have to make that trade in tight end.
I make the trade.
Yeah, I think you do. I mean, obviously, if they do end up getting another quarterback in Denver, Fant stock could go even higher, depending on who that quarterback is. Like, let's say they pull off a trade and they get Matthew Stafford. Just seeing what TJ Hawkinson did, like Fant's value is only going to increase off that.
Then I love the coordinators Fant's been working with. This was in my notes with Fant. I actually had Fant ranked 8. He finished 8 this past season. 2 years ago, Fant was working with the guy who helped make George Kittle a thing in San Francisco, And last year it was I can't think of the guy's name right now, but he was with the New York Giants when Evan Ingram became a thing. Shermer, yep. So he's working with these coordinators that are great with tight ends, and it sounds like there's actually going to be some continuity this year instead of having to lose a guy. So if it's Locke, or even better if it's Stafford, I feel like Fant could be a hell of a piece this year.
I agree.
And I don't make the trade.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah,
reasons.
I mean,
let's hear it.
I think we've seen Fant's ceiling in Denver. To be honest, it's going to be the 90 target kind of guy. He's going to be a solid back end tight end one, but I'm not trading a piece like Ayuk for even if it is tight end premium. All the tight ends are scoring 1.75 per. It's not like only some get this bump and not others. So yeah, I would wait, see if I could draft a tight end in the coming.
Well, I was
years.
gonna say if he had a chance at Pitts in the draft, that was something I was gonna bring up. So
well, to me, I guess I look at this as, what do you think Ayuk's ceiling is? Like, do you think he's ultimately going to be an 85 reception guy with Debo there and with Kittle there? Because if Fant gets 50 receptions at 1.75, you're right around that 85 reception mark.
Yep.
In terms of points scored, right? I mean, that's roughly 85 points.
And
so
Fant
it's actually, what is it? 1.75. Yeah, it's like 80 or 77, 78.
And two, Fant has a higher touchdown upside.
I mean, I think that Ayuk obviously has the yardage side of things, but
yeah,
Noah Fant's no slouch when it comes to yards per reception. I mean, he's one of the fastest tight ends in the league.
Downfield threat.
So yeah, exactly. So that to me is the difference.
More touchdowns than Fant this year, so I don't know how you could say Fant has a higher
Ayuk
upside.
also played in an offense where they threw the football 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage and he ran free. So,
but are we expecting that to change?
Where's Fant? Yeah, where's Fant going next year?
Yeah, nobody's situation is changing.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I just think I still like Noah Fant better.
I'm actually trying to trade him away in Dynasty.
Is it our league? I'll take him. I'll take him. What do you want? A
No, I have
5th round
Jarwin
pick?
in
Because
that league.
that
I'm
seems
good.
like what you're valuing Noah Fant as, about a 5th round pick. So I'll trade you a 5th
He
round
wants
pick.
Brandon Ayuk.
Easy.
Not a 5th round pick.
Oh,
In a
that's why
rookie
I have a
draft.
trade for you. How about Jalen Hurd for Noah Fant? Jalen Hurd, another 49ers receiver.
Oh God,
Jalen Hurd. Okay, but so you got 3 yes, 1 no on that, Sean. Take it as you will. So Adam Schefter just tweeted that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be wearing their white jerseys with their pewter pants. Kansas City will be in red. Why is this significant news, you ask? Well, it's the last 16 Super Bowls. Teams that wear white jerseys have won 13 of the last 16 Super Bowls.
Oh my God.
Listen, going back to the New England, Philadelphia, the first one, which was, Josh, 2005, I think, right? 16 years would have been 2005 or 2004. What one of the two. But you have New England, wore white. Pittsburgh, Seattle, Pittsburgh wore white. Indy, Chicago, Indy was in white. New York, New England, Giants were in white. You can see where this is going.
Yeah.
The only 2 teams the only 3 teams to break that curse, the Green Bay Packers against the Pittsburgh Steelers in that Super Bowl in Dallas. The Eagles, 3 years ago now, against the Patriots. Both teams wore green. The other team to do it, the Kansas City Chiefs in 2020, when they wore their red jerseys against the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh my goodness.
So it's
let
interesting.
the conspiracies fly.
Now, listen, this has 0 to do with the outcome of the game. The jersey color could not play any less of a factor in the outcome of the game.
Tell me there's a money line on which jersey color wins.
Listen, it's
I'm sure there is.
It's just crazy because you look at it, right? So up until Super Bowl 51, Patriots against Atlanta, there had been one team in the previous 14 years that had won in a colored jersey. So obviously the Falcons are wearing red. Patriots wearing white. The Patriots came back 28-3 in white jerseys. It has nothing to do with the outcome of the game. It's just crazy that teams that have worn white jerseys
tend to win.
Just tend to win. Like it's utterly nuts. So the Bucks historically have a better chance of winning, according to the statistics, than the Kansas City Chiefs do. Just saying.
There you go.
Saying. I've already locked in my Bucks +3 and money line, so I'm already there. And Brady for MVP, because if the Bucks win, Tom Brady's getting MVP. It's that simple. So
I know he wants to play till he's 45, but if Tom Brady actually wins this Super Bowl, what more do you have to prove at that point?
You want to know where he plays?
Seriously.
You want to know what division he plays next year? The AFC East. You want to know where he plays next year?
Yeah. In New England?
In New England.
All right, fair enough.
And
I stand corrected. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
And I'm fairly positive as well he plays in Buffalo. I would love to see him go 33-3 against one singular team.
God,
yeah, that's crazy.
Sick.
Gross how good he is against the Bills. But yes, he will be playing next year, regardless of what happens. Because whatever week he plays New England, I may draft Tom
Brady.
He's
retiring after that weekend.
Listen, no. It's not even that. I may draft Tom Brady in fantasy as my backup.
He's going to pull Avante Davis and retire mid-game.
That was great. I walked into the locker room the second half and said, F it.
I'm out.
But Tom Brady next year, he's going to go into New England. I don't know what week he's playing New England. Whatever week that is, Tom Brady is breaking every record in the books. Fantasy. He's going to throw for 10 touchdowns.
Interception.
600. Chris, he may throw 6 interceptions, but he's going to throw 10 touchdowns, so it doesn't matter.
He'll be sure to get Stephon Gilmore involved in the book somehow.
I mean, like the score is it's going to be 40. It's going to be 49-0 at halftime. Brady's going to have 7 passing touchdowns. I have no doubt in my mind he will throttle that team. No doubt in my mind. So for next year, here's my way too early rankings. Brady's going to be like tight end 8, but that one week he's tight end
wide receiver 9.
Yeah. No,
I guarantee you Brady will be tight end 1 if they make him tight end out.
Did I say tight end?
Yeah, you did. That's why I said that.
Brady
it's a Rex Ryan scenario all over again.
Be like,
we're on a tight end show. Tom Brady will be quarterback 9, but he will be quarterback 1 that 1 week. Mark my words right now. Someone clip it. Mark my words. Tom Brady will throttle the New England Patriots.
I'm sure we'll be talking about it that entire week as well.
Right?
So.
I'm very excited for that. But yeah, I mean, I guess. Do we want to go through the rest here? It's like, again,
just read them off at the very least.
We'll read them off. All right, very quickly. Where am I at in this list? Who are some players you're very far off on? Josh, Robert Tonyan, Zach Ertz, T.J. Hawkinson, Noah Fant, Jack Doyle and Kyle Rudolph, and Dalton Schultz, obviously. Ryan,
I have one real quick note on Rudolph and Doyle. Like, I know I was very far off on them, but I did have them finishing back-to-back, and they did finish back-to-back. It was just the tight end 39 and 40. Okay.
Go you, Josh. You really did it. Ryan, you had Tonyan as well. You give a big shout-out to Jay Sternberger.
Yeah, you tricked me.
You caught on to Logan Thomas late. You had him at 41 because you had Jeremy Sprinkle involved.
Yeah, I did too.
That one hurts.
Well, one interesting thing about Logan Thomas, I had him at exactly half as many targets he had and half as many fantasy points. So I had his points per target perfect. I just didn't give him enough targets.
There you go. And Ryan, you'll say you had Mark Andrews at 3, finished at 6.
Yeah.
Chris, you have Tonyan and Logan Thomas as well. Tyler Higbee, T.J. Hawkinson, and everyone had Chris Herndon on their list.
Yeah, and let's be real though, with T.J. Hawkinson, we know that he had 100 targets because Kenny Golladay was out.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's so many like that this season. Yeah. I wanted to go back just real quick on Mark Andrews as well. While 3-6 doesn't sound like a big miss, anybody who watched our show during any of the preseason, I thought Mark Andrews legit had a chance to be the number one tight end.
For it about with the ballers.
And to see him not only not be that, to be just a average
pedestrian.
6.
He was a jag.
That's a huge miss.
Pedestrian.
Pedestrian to say the least. And the most insane thing was the whole premise of my loving of Mark Andrews was Hurst being gone. He saw 10 fewer targets, fewer yards, fewer receptions, fewer touchdowns. He literally went down in every category. It was very disappointing.
Snap percentage go up.
I'll be honest, I have absolutely no idea, but I'll look it up.
Because we all know that's the most important thing, right?
Snap percentage.
I was actually the lowest on Mark Andrews out of the three of us.
I know I was the highest.
I think I had him at 4.
Well, I'm just glad I came off my ledge. I had him at 1 for a large portion of the preseason, and then I was like, okay, this is dumb, and I'm not going to do this anymore. So
yeah, Ryan and I had Andrews at 3. Chris, you had him at 4. So
that's because I had Waller above y'all.
He played 18% more snaps this season.
There you go. Sadly,
so you were partly right. He was going to play more snaps.
Yep, he went
that
just like George Kittle's blocking. I'm glad Mark Andrews' snap percentage really factored.
Yeah, it really worked out well for my rankings and my pride.
Yeah. One player you thought would never finish where they did. I think everybody had Rob Gronkowski on here. Yep, everyone had Rob Gronkowski. Josh, you also had Eric Ebron on there. Ryan, you just had Rob Gronkowski, saying the injury to O.J. Howard really moved things along. Chris, you had Hawkinson and Jimmy Graham.
I think the big thing for Gronk, I did so many shows in the preseason where I'm like, look, you're going to get one of two things from Gronk. You're going to get 500 or you're going to get 5. Those were like my benchmarks, and he went 607. I was like, oops. I got both very wrong.
Tough. And then, Ryan, your stream of the week, tight end accountability, the weekly stream of the week, tight end. So the number one guy, correct?
Yep. This is the guy who I put as my number one that week.
Hit on 9 of 16 weeks. That's 56%. Ladies and gentlemen, you're making money if you're betting at 56%. Or at least you're breaking even. So good job there, Ryan. Stream of the week, year end. We finished as the tight end 10 with 146 fantasy points.
Yep.
He's top 10.
Yeah, top 10. Weekly top 5 picks. You were hitting 35%.
Yeah, this was awful. Fell apart at the end of the year. Hit 5 of 20 over the last month.
Ooh, tough. Yeah. But best of the bunch, tight end 3 with 241 fantasy points.
And so, Joe, I want to throw this out because you've already said it. These are my literal notes. If you don't land Kelce, Kittle, or Waller, there's no reason to consider a mid-round guy because you can build a tight end with 241 fantasy points if you do it correctly. Just for those who don't follow my article, I pick a top 5 every week. Every one of them is below 50% rostered. And if you manage to pick the best one, which clearly I couldn't do every week, but if you did that, you could have built the tight end 3 with 241 fantasy points. There's a ton of potential in streaming. And if you don't get one of those 3 guys, please do not consider mid-round tight ends.
I took Dallas Goedert, I think sometime in like the 10th round in one of my leagues. Obviously he got hurt, so I looked at Ryan's stream of the week, and for a good amount of time it was working.
Yeah, if you picked the number 1 guy, I actually didn't do terrible, but man, if some of those number 5, and then even worse was the number 1 guy, Richard Rodgers, actually pulled me a 0 that week when the Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert return, it was all looming, and then so everyone's like, this is Rodgers' last big week. Nope. Goddard came in, Rodgers did nothing. It was all awful. So,
I'm gonna have to start doing like when we post those, and then there's like these last minute injury things. I'm just gonna have to like I think I'm just gonna have to pass you the Twitter handle. So you can be like, wait, go back, flip.
I normally do, but the problem was that was a Monday night game, so there was no fixing that. So
my sleepers, I had one. It was Noah Fant.
Hey.
I was genuinely surprised at how low he was going. I believe he was being taken outside of the top 10. So he would have been like an 11th, 12th round pick.
I felt like people fell on one of two sides. I felt because everyone kind of was lukewarm on Jerry Jeudy, but I felt like it was you either loved Cortland Sutton or you loved Noah Fant. Like you had to kind of be one or the other.
Well,
so.
Cut me in half because I fell on both sides of the wall.
Or neither.
I say or neither because I did not like Sutton. Sutton started off as like my wide receiver 12, and then like every time I redid my rankings, I think he ended up falling all the way to like 23, 24 for me. But every time I knocked Sutton down, I was moving Fant up. So
let me preface: I didn't have Sutton as a wide receiver 1. I had him somewhere around that mid wide receiver 2 range. But I was drafting in a couple of my leagues. I drafted Sutton. Obviously, it hurt because he was out for the entire season.
Yep.
But I was drafting him. I took my 2 running backs that I knew were going to put up top 10 points, and I took Sutton as the guy. It was either Sutton or Robert Woods. I took as my guy to be my wide receiver 1, and obviously Woods fucking paid off gloriously.
Yeah, I literally had that exact choice and went Sutton in a league, and that was the one league where I was playing to like not be the toilet bowl, and like this league does a whole toilet bowl punishment, and I was like, oh god, this is not my bag here. I gotta get it.
Do they make you eat an Arby's fish sandwich?
Nobody wants to buy into that stuff in my leagues, and it's very disappointing. So.
Well, I'll shout this league out. It's from a good friend of mine that I met through banking, but it's a toilet bowl champion, and so you have to. He has a engraved actual toilet seat that you have to wear as a necklace at all league events. So we make the guy stand up and do the Star Spangled Banner at our like pre-draft outing while wearing a toilet seat around his neck that says I suck at fantasy football and what year and all that. So it's a very cool little league punishment that I was trying to avoid with my life. Not finishing last in that league was almost more important than finishing first in other leagues.
Oh, in my buddy's league, it's just, you're happy to just make the playoffs. You don't care if you win the 180. You're happy that you're safe from the losers bracket.
Yeah, I need to ask you, Joe, because we never did get an update. Who finished last and had to eat an Arby's fish
My
sandwich?
wife literally was just asking me about this week.
So it was funny. The guy who finished last actually went to Arby's and they were out of fish sandwiches. And I'm like, how are you out of fish sandwiches at Arby's of all things? Like a fish sandwich, right? It was my buddy's brother. So my buddy Link, his younger brother Nick, who he was very excited to. He's only like a couple years younger. Was he the flex depth guy? No, he was the flex depth guy. Actually finished 7th, which is
okay.
So he won the losers bracket technically.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was his name's Nick, and he had it was funny because he actually had Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson on his team.
Wait, it's not super flex though, right?
It's not a super flex.
Okay, never mind then. So that shocked look is now even more shocked that he has both of them.
Yeah, but I mean, again, like Mahomes is dropping 40 a game.
I was gonna say that's rough to finish last with Mahomes on roster.
Mahomes. And he
that's because the running back that you have, you can't start because he's a quarterback.
Yep.
But let me while I'm talking, let me see if I can pull up his exact team. But it was actually him against my brother, and my brother absolutely destroyed him. It was not even close.
Hey, I feel like we were a part of that. He was asking questions that week, so
he's asking questions
that week.
Yeah, it was great.
He asked me questions all the time, and I told him the right answers most of the time. The issue is his team was just bad. All right, I am about to pull up. So the losing roster in my buddy's league. So here we go. It's actually kind of sad because there's some good players on here. Okay, so the starting lineup he had in the championship, or the toilet bowl, the Arby's fish sandwich bowl. Patrick Mahomes, Nick Chubb, Allen Robinson, Dallas Goedert, Austin Eckler, Leonard Fournette, Jerry Jeudy, the Browns defense, Cody Parkey. His bench, James Conner, Tyler Boyd, Devontae Parker, Sammy Watkins, Ryan Tannehill, Lamar Jackson, Chase Edmonds, the Cowboys D, and DJ Chark.
Who in God's name would roster the Cowboys defense?
Or Sammy Watkins.
Right?
Guys,
I
feel
mean,
like
this was
guys,
week 1.
guys,
He was
This is
saving him for week
guys,
16.
guys, he came in last. Okay, there's a reason.
Well,
he
I mean,
came in
I
last.
get that.
But he was so excited to join the league, and then he comes in last. Like he'd been asking his brother if he could join for like the last couple of years because we've had some open spots here and there, and he comes in and loses. And he's also in the dynasty league that we started, and he didn't draft a running back till like the 6th round. His team is not good at all. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be impressive if he loses both leagues next year. His football IQ is not that high. Nick, I know you're not listening, but if you are, sorry. But yeah.
Hey,
yeah,
Josh.
That's
Yep.
crazy.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
So, how do you feel about Jonnu Smith's season? I know we went back and forth about this a lot. You got your shots in with Tyler Higbee, but I mean, Jonnu Smith, I came within 0.25 of fantasy points and nailing his projections. How'd you do?
How did I do? I know. I
Such
feel
a
like I
dick
had
thing,
him
but
on
that's
there.
the
No.
For a
He-
second.
No. He's on point because I was very high on Jonnu.
Janu. But he turned it to
I
me
mean,
for a
in
second
my-
asking that question.
In my way too early rankings, I had Jonnu top 5, and for much of the year, he was a top 7, 8 tight end. What really turned the tides for Jonnu? So I had him at tight end 8 going into the year, 53 catches, 631 and 6 touchdowns. What he ended up with? I know he finished the tight end 16, but
I think what really hurt him is that the Titans found out that Anthony Ferkser could do more than block.
well, there's that.
41
They
or 48.
asked Jonnu to block when Taylor Lewan went down with a knee injury. That was the big issue. So Jonnu stayed in to block more.
Yeah, kind
So
of.
the touchdowns were there. He had the 8 touchdowns. He only ended up with 65 targets. So I was only about 7 off on that, but I was 12 short on the receptions, and I had him at a much higher yards per reception. I had him at 11.9. He finished at 10.9. So that really was, I think, the biggest change in terms of the receptions because I had him with a few more. But yeah, I mean, you can see like the splits in his actual game, like the first half of the season when Lewan was playing versus the last half when Lewan was out. And we touched on this in one of our episodes. Jonnu was blocking. And so they were using, it's kind of the same thing last year with Higbee. When Everett went down, they moved Higbee into that, like, hey, we're going to run him instead of keeping him inside to block. And they moved Johnny Munt into doing that. And that's what opened up Higbee's production as a tight end. So Jonnu kind of had the inverse effect on that. So, you know, it's because he's a free agent this year. So, you know, having the down season, quote unquote, you know, he's probably not going to get the contract that he wants, but hopefully the Titans still value him. And, you know, Lewan coming back healthy next year, I think we'll see. It really, to me, it's a buy low opportunity in Dynasty for Jonnu.
Yeah.
If Corey Davis walks, that could be huge.
Again, that's what I'm saying. Like, you could
AJ
buy
Brown.
low on Jonnu now, anticipating they won't re-sign Davis, because again, why would they when they declined his 5th-year option?
Yeah.
Like, I understand he had a good year this year, but you have a guy in AJ Brown who did what he did with 100 targets. Just imagine if you're feeding this guy 150, 160 targets again.
That's basically what AJ Brown just said to Justin Jefferson this week.
Right? You know, and you throw 90 of them to Jonnu's way. Like, you don't need a second tight end or a second wide receiver at that point. So
I think people are going to be too high on Jonnu Smith again going into next year.
I don't think they'll be too high on him personally.
Yeah, I was gonna say the fact that he ended the
will.
season so quietly, I'm interested to see how that plays out.
They will. No, people will be too high on him. Remember Chris Herndon the last 2 years?
I was gonna. It's so funny.
Okay,
You bring
one
him
had
up.
Adam Gase, the other doesn't. So
I was gonna say
One is Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback.
Chris Herndon
who's
is
had
actually
the best years of his
super.
career the last 2 years.
Chris Herndon is actually super interesting now because he is
Oh yeah,
still.
with
Ryan,
Michael
shut
Floor.
up.
Oh yeah.
Ryan, shut up. No. Stop it.
I guarantee you Chris Herndon is on my stream of the week list more times than I can.
No. Stop it. We're done with the Chris Herndon talk.
No, we were done with Adam Gase.
No,
yes.
We're done with
Everybody
the Chris Herndon
is
talk.
Everybody's
until
on the book
Deshaun Watson is a New York Jet. Then I may allow it. I'll take
Darnold and Herndon in a San Francisco system.
Get that shit out of here.
My biggest worry now is Jamison Crowder because I don't know how he is going to play in a San Francisco system. That's going to take some research on my part. So,
well, who was the number 2 tight end between week 16 and week 17, right? Chris Herndon.
I promise you.
I can't wait for somebody to extrapolate those stats.
I promise you, Chris, I was literally trying to think of the weeks you said. My brain would not wrap around. I was like, did he say 16 and 17? That's my new favorite.
Yeah, he was the tight end too.
When I tweet this show out tomorrow, I promise you I'm using that stat. I have to now.
Championship week. Chris Herndon. He had 4 catches for 34 yards. That's 7.4 points plus a touchdown, 13.6.
He would have been the better stream of the week option than my stream of the week. I'll tell you that.
Chris Herndon had 3 touchdowns on the season. 2 of them came in week 16 and 17.
Yeah, baby.
To the moon, Chris Herndon. To the moon. Shit, where it's like.
Gonna take his GameStop stock.
It's right, stonks, baby.
I saw To the Moon trending on Twitter, and I got mad.
It's like a big thing now.
I got mad. Like, I was genuinely mad. I didn't invent the phrase, but I got mad.
Well, my favorite thing was I was the one who said it, and you just took it, baby. But I'm good with it. It sounds way better coming out of your mouth. You took it to the moon. Yes, Chris. Chris Herndon made the stream of the week list exactly 1 time last season, week 3, and he scored 5 fantasy points. Go, Chris Herndon. If you extrapolate that out, that's 80 fantasy points.
80?
Yep. Which he probably didn't have this season, if I had to guess.
If you extrapolate week 16 and 17, that's 240.
Yeah, no, Chris Herndon had 73.7 on the year.
So he paced better when I picked him as stream of the week. So wait till next year, baby.
No Chris Herndon talk.
Well, what's funny is I was a notorious Chris Herndon hater coming into last year and caught so much for it, and I'm about to flip completely this offseason. So.
I hate you. No. I hate you. I don't want to hear
I know exactly how you feel because that's how I felt about Chris Herndon a year ago.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to. I don't want to hear it. Ryan's not allowed back on the show. Sorry. The Jets preview. The Jets preview. Sorry, Ryan. Your Wi-Fi isn't connected.
What's funny is I think I actually missed the Jets preview this past year. So.
You're gonna miss.
Yeah, because I think we brought you on with the was it second or third?
No, I was in for all of them, but I had to miss one because I was in North Carolina and had horrible.
That was the one we had.
Was the Jets. Yeah, with bets. So I think you guys had. I think that was the Raiders, Cleveland, and the Jets. So yeah, that was the one I missed.
Oh, well, I mean, it's gonna suck that you're gonna miss the Jaguars, Jets, and Dolphins or Texans. It's gonna suck that you're gonna miss that one.
Yeah, that's
Ryan. We're gonna miss you. Honestly, we're gonna miss you for that show. Fuck Chris Herndon. No, not yet. I refuse. Unless Deshaun Watson is.
Don't worry. When we get to the Jets, I'm just waiting for you to pick Herndon as your sleeper.
Yeah, when he flips.
The only reason I will pick Chris Herndon. Listen, right now as it stands, he may be the sleep. Actually, no.
I love how you backpedaled quickly on that one.
Well, because I'm trying to think who's rostered. I was trying to think of the receivers that are currently rostered on their team.
The man, the myth, the legend, Braxton Berrios.
Oh, love me some Braxton Berrios, baby.
Double B. No, I would. I mean, listen.
If
it may be Herndon
salary cap. I mean, I understand they have a ton of cap space.
Oh, Berrios is.
Oh, yeah. I'm all in on Berrios. He'll be my version of your Steven Sims from this year.
There you go.
Oh, okay. So I'm not going to pick Braxton Berrios then.
Yeah. And by that, you mean absolute trash.
Yeah, you mean absolute shit.
Cam Sims or Steven Sims?
Steven,
One
I
of
was
them.
so high on Steven Sims.
Listen.
No,
It was
so was I.
disgusting.
It's just
Yeah.
funny with the Sims last
Yeah.
name. Like, oh, Steven Sims is doing. Wait, no,
We were
Yeah.
we were so confident Steven Sims would outplay his draft, his ADP of like 84.
Nope.
And I'm very positive he didn't do that.
Pick, like,
How do you not outplay your ADP of undrafted? How do you not outplay that?
Of undrafted.
Like you don't outplay your ADP of undrafted. You're a starting receiver.
What I'm really interested to
What?
see now is that Cam Sims literally did the same thing this season that Steven Sims did a year ago. So is it
wait,
all
we'll
about to
start
just flip
hyping
on
him
its
up.
head?
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
they're gonna be like, oh, somebody's got to do something to next to Terry McLaurin.
There you
Kelvin
go.
Harmon. Kelvin
Antonio
Harmon's
Gibson.
coming back.
That's true.
Gandy Golden.
There you go.
Yeah, I'd love to see that happen.
I took a flyer on Gandy Gold in a dynasty startup, so that was he was like my 7th receiver. I'm like, if he hits, great.
He's a big boy. He could do something.
Yeah.
Didn't you trade him to me in our dynasty league, Ryan?
I did. He was the throw in on the Aaron Jones.
Yes.
There you go. Home run.
To the moon.
To be fair, as of this moment, only one of them has a job next year.
Yeah, Aaron Jones will not be a Green Bay Packer next year. That is just.
I would not be shocked if he lands in Atlanta, to be quite honest with you. I personally would love to see him in Miami, but Atlanta makes a ton of sense.
With Arthur
Miami-
Smith in Atlanta.
Aaron Jones, yeah.
It'd be huge.
Yeah, with Arthur Smith there and wanting to run the football, I think Aaron Jones would be a perfect fit.
Sucks that offensive line can't block. So RIP to Aaron Jones. And quickly before we hop off from our buddy Gabe, explain what the helmet to helmet rule is. So what the rule is it's called
Crap, because it's never called correctly.
Yeah, no, it's never called correctly. So there's the problem is called using the crown of the helmet, which essentially means the top of the helmet. I mean, the prime play that didn't get called was the Daniel Sorensen hit on Rashad Higgins. He literally led with the crown of his helmet. So that's one of them. Helmet to helmet contact is sometimes it can be incidental, but anytime there's a hit and the player hits with the helmet more so than his body,
they're always going to err to the side of the penalty, except if you're the Browns.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have you seen the pylon view of that hit? It
Yeah,
looks
got
like he's a
smoked.
human missile going.
Yep.
Yeah,
head
Daniel
first.
Sorensen didn't even lead with his shoulder. He full on led with his head.
Yeah, he
There's-
just like, woo!
There's
Oh,
a weird angle from the back where it looks, and I understand he didn't, but there's a weird angle from the back where it looks like he led with his shoulder. And I just wonder, and I understand it's a non-reviewable play, but I wonder if that was the view the ref saw, because I just saw a screenshot of it the other day and I'm like, that almost makes it look like a clean hit. And I fully concede it was not a clean hit. We talked about this after the week where I wasn't quite sure what the rule was myself, but there is a view where it looks clean. And I'm wondering if that was I don't know. I don't remember where the refs were positioned, but I wonder if that was the ref that should have made that call. So
One needs to be reviewable. That the refs can't be afraid to throw a flag like that. Also, bullshit rule fumbling the ball out of the end zone. Makes no sense.
it literally makes no sense. Like, hey, I know you were 1 yard away from scoring a touchdown, but because you screwed up, we're giving the ball back to your opponent 19 yards back from where you were.
And also, if you fumble the ball forward 25 yards and it goes out of bounds, the ball you don't gain 25 yards off the fumble. It comes back to the spot of the fumble. Yep. So it makes no sense
that in that one specific area, you change your own rule.
Yeah. You're at the 1 inch line. You fumble out of bounds. Oh, no problem. Just, first and goal from the 1. Yep. 1 inch later, you're like, oh, the other team has the ball now. Sorry.
It's the worst rule.
Like, it could be like a penalty. It could be like you move back to the 20. Like, you actually move back to the 20.
It could be like a reverse touchback. Just do something where you're not losing the ball. So
yeah, exactly.
So stupid. But that is the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. Chris, thanks for joining us for these last 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's been great, Chris.
'Tis been a
Yeah.
And kudos on your rankings, Chris. I just going through, you were very close on a lot of guys. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So,
This was my jam right here. This tight end show, even though Kelce didn't matter, but like I come in within a point on 2 guys.
yeah,
That
that's
was
cool.
great.
Yeah.
My points were way off. The tight end splits killed me, and I gave tight ends way too many yards per catch.
Yeah, well, I just gave tight ends in general way too much credit. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to fix that going into next year.
Yep.
What's the rule, ladies and gentlemen?
Nobody matters if you're not Kelce.
That was
Kittle, or
Kelce to
Waller.
the moon.
Yes.
I mean, I will not say Travis Kelce to the moon ever because screw Travis Kelce. But yeah, if it's not Kelce, Kittle, or Waller, it doesn't matter. If there's one thing you take away from this show, let it be that, please.
100% true.
Next week, Super Bowl preview with Mark Drumheller and Jersey Jen. Chris, because obviously you won't be on with us, who do you have, the Bucs or the Chiefs?
Chiefs by 10.
Woo!
That's a good back. What?
I don't know. It was just a guess.
As is everything we do here.
I haven't been very good with the spread in the playoffs, so take
that
take
makes
that
me
with a
feel
grain
good
of
about my
salt.
Tampa bet. Whew, all right.
Yeah, I mean, almost it was like your Arizona Rams, Arizona bet.
Chris, I literally conceded that Arizona's dog shit against the spread. Like I said that. They're dog shit against the spread. Terrible team against the spread. Like Cliff Kingsbury on the shit list for the rest of eternity. He sucks.
He's awful.
Yeah. But all right, there you go. Chris has the Chiefs by 10. We will mark that and make sure that you are penalized when the Bucs win.
Aren't we already penalized enough if the Bucs win?
Basically, yeah.
No, we are not. No, we are not. Because people still think Tom Brady's not the greatest quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
So
If you're still in denial on Brady not being the GOAT, stop. You're just bitter.
If 7 rings doesn't do it for you, you hate life. Like you just hate life at that point. It's ridiculous. All right, so next week, like we said, Super Bowl preview with Mark Drumheller and Jersey Jen. Excuse me. Got 2 awesome guests for you. Going to talk.
Yeah, very excited about Jen. We tried to get her on during the
season,
fantasy
it just
season,
couldn't work.
but we just couldn't work. So being able to get her on for the prop bets, which she loves gambling, guys. So Jen's going to be great, and we love Mark. He's fantastic. So yeah, it's going to be a good one next week.
Super excited to get the prop bets in. I know a couple. You got like who's going to win the coin toss, all those different things.
Yeah, and just know, Joe, that you're in charge of that one. So make sure you get all the different prop bets going, and yeah,
Love it.
I don't want to have to shoot you a text on Monday night to remind you.
Oh no, shoot me a text because I'm going to forget.
No, you need to do that.
I'm just gonna have to do it on Saturday, apparently.
Yeah,
Monday.
Text me. I'm going to forget. Josh, I don't know if he's just for everyone. I'm moving, so that kind of takes up a good amount of time. So yeah, you'll see a different backdrop. Not next week, in 2 weeks, you will see a different backdrop.
We got a good guest in 2 weeks too.
A Bismarckian backdrop.
Bismarckian, I like that.
North Dakotian backdrop. What do you? I don't know what they call.
Learn the
Better
lingo.
find out. Yeah.
What I did find out
Watch Fargo.
Everyone says watch. I don't want to watch Fargo because
And the new season has Chris Rock.
Listen.
And that's how they talk.
Here's that's how they talk. I was just doing research and I looked up the population in Dallas. It's 1.3 million. In the entire state of North Dakota, it's 762,000. And also the African American Black population in North Dakota is 1.9%.
It's Chris Rock.
It's Chris Rock. It's
so terrible. Oh my God.
It's Josh. That's just a fact. Like that's not terrible.
I'm not saying it. I'm not debating the fact. I'm just saying it's terrible.
It's just a fact. Like it's literally like I'm pretty sure. I think it was like 87% Caucasian.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
I'm pretty sure not exaggerating.
I assume there's probably more Native Americans up there than African Americans.
There is. Well, hey, you can. There's a blackjack table in every bar in Bismarck.
There you go.
There you
And
go.
it goes to the Native American Gaming Association.
Maggie's gonna be so mad at you for blowing.
I was just gonna say,
Josh, they are $1 and $2 tables. Like they are.
Oh, those are right up Joe's alley.
Maggie even said she's gonna try and bet. Let's go! Woo! All right. I'm excited. She says what in the other room? Are you not watching the show? Like
She probably doesn't realize we're still on the air because we're so off the rails at this point. So.
Right?
Off the rails, 94 minutes in.
There we go. We did great this time.
Yeah, we did great. All right, for the One Hudsonian, for Chris Mo 2413, the Fantasy 5, myself, Joe_Zolo. You can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. Next week, Super Bowl preview with Mark Drumheller and Jersey Jen. Super excited for that show. And of course, you got Chris's prediction: the Chiefs the Chiefs to win by 10 in Super Bowl 55. Myself, I mean, you already know mine. I've been touting mine. But Josh and Ryan will reveal theirs next week, along with Mark and Jen. We are extremely excited for the Super Bowl. We hope you are too. Enjoy this bullshit that they're putting on this weekend with freaking Madden. Always remember, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football. We will see you next week.